I wanted to do something very simple and minimal. Not true. I actually wanted my sister, who's a makeup artist, to do Halloween makeup on me. But unfortunately, when she visited this week, our schedules didn't match. So unfortunately, we didn't meet. By the way, I'm looking away from the camera. I don't know for how long this is going to be going on. This never happens with my 11-year-old cat because she doesn't care. She wants me to leave her alone, but I have this baby right here, and it's just like, it's literally stalking me. Honestly, she just does what she wants. This lady right here that wouldn't come out of an engine, car engine, because she was so scared, but here we are. Go away, baby. Okay. So my sisters and I schedules didn't unfortunately match. So after the makeup thing fell through, I thought about it a little bit, and I thought, what am I gonna do? And I decided ultimately to do something like minimal and sort of old school. I set up this little sheet tent, sort of imagining that I'm in a sleepover with my friends, reading scary stories and stuff like that, and watching horror movies. So today I thought I could end up reading 2 short stories. At first I also again wanted to maybe read interactions with the paranormal, like from real people, like on a website online or something. But in the end I thought maybe I should just read something classic, because the stories just felt too real, and I wasn't sure about using them, but there were some really good ones, so maybe next year let me know if you'd be interested in that. Some were really scary. Okay, so the first thing that I'd like to read is actually a video that I used to watch when I was really, really young. I mean, I think it kind of tells a lot, but it's from a short video story by Tim Burton, which I love and used to love as well. And Tim Burton wrote it, and I really used to love it, and the first thing that came into mind was, okay, this is gonna be one of the 2. So here goes. It's called Vincent. Vincent Malloy is 7 years old. He's always polite and does what is told. For a boy his age, he's considerate and nice, but he wants to be just like Vincent Price. He doesn't mind living with his sister, dog, and cats, though he'd rather share a home with spiders and bats. There he could reflect on the horrors he's invented and wander dark hallways alone and tormented. Vincent is nice when his aunt comes to see him, but imagines tipping her in wax for his wax museum. He likes to experiment on his dog Abercrombie in the hopes of creating a horrible zombie. So he's in his horrible zombie dog, cuckoo searching for victims in the London fog. His thoughts, though, are kids read books like Go, Jane, Go. Vincent's favorite author is Edgar Allan Poe. One night, while reading a gruesome tale, he read a passage that made him turn pale. Such horrible news he could not survive, for his beautiful wife had been buried alive. He dug out her grave to make sure she was dead, unaware that her grave was his mother's flower bed. His mother sent Vincent off to his room. He knew he'd been banished to the Tower of Doom. There he was sentenced to spend the rest of his life alone with the portrait of his beautiful wife, while alone and insane, encased in his tomb. Vincent's mother burst suddenly into the room. She said, "If you want to, you can go out and play. It's sunny outside and a beautiful day." Vincent tried to talk, but he just couldn't speak. The years of isolation had made him quite weak. So he took out some paper and scrawled with a pen. "I am possessed by this house and can never leave it again." His mother said, "You're not possessed and you're not almost dead. These games that you play are all in your head. You're not Vincent Price, you're Vincent Malloy. You're not tormented or insane, you're just a young boy. You're 7 years old and you are my son. I want you to get outside and have some real fun." Her anger now spent, she walked out through the hall, and while Vincent backed slowly against the wall, the room started to swell, to shiver and creak. His horrid insanity had reached its peak. He saw Abercrombie, his zombie slave, and heard his wife call from beyond the grave. She spoke from her coffin and made ghoulish demands, while through cracking walls reached skeleton hands. Every horror in this life that had crept through his dreams swept his mad laughter to terrified screams. To escape the madness, he reached for the door, but he fell limp and lifeless down on the floor. His voice was soft and very slow as he quoted the Raven from Edgar Allan Poe. "And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore." So that was the first one that I wanted to read. I will use the link in the video down below so you can go check the animation as well. It's really beautiful, and I think it borders, as always, between humor and also a bit sad, because, obviously Vincent is quite losing his mind, and, sometimes lost control of my mind. Why do you say that I am mad? Can you not see that I have full control of my mind? Is it not clear that I am not mad? Indeed, the illness only made my mind, my feelings, my senses stronger, more powerful. My sense of hearing especially became more powerful. I could hear sounds I had never heard before. I heard sounds from heaven, and I heard sounds from hell. Listen, and I will tell you how it happened. You will see, you will hear how healthy my mind is. It is impossible to say how the idea first entered my head. There was no reason for what I did. I did not hate the old man. I even loved him. He had never hurt me. I did not want his money. I think it was his eye. His eye was like the eye of a vulture. The eye of one of those terrible birds that watch and wait while an animal dies and then fall upon the dead body and pull it to pieces to eat it. When the old man looked at me with his vulture eye, a cold feeling went up and down my back. Even my blood became cold. And so I finally decided I had to kill the old man and close that eye forever. So you think that I am mad? A madman cannot plan, but you should have seen me. During all of that week, I was as friendly to the old man as I could be, and warm and loving. Every night, about 12 o'clock, I slowly opened his door. And when the door was open wide enough, I put my hand in, and then my head. In my hand, I held a light covered with a cloth so that no light showed. And I stood there quietly. Then, carefully, I lifted the cloth just a little so that a single, thin, small light fell across that eye. For 7 nights I did this, 7 long nights, every night at midnight. Always the eye was closed, so it was impossible for me to do the work. For it was not the old man I felt I had to kill, it was the eye, his evil eye. And every morning I went to his room, and with a warm, friendly voice I asked him how he had slept. He could not guess that every night, just at 12, I looked at him as he slept. The 8th night I was more than usually careful as I opened the door. The hands of a clock moved more quickly than did my hand. Never before had I felt so strongly my own power. I was now sure of success. The old man was lying there, not dreaming that I was at his door. Suddenly, he moved in his bed. You may think I became afraid, but no. The darkness in his room was thick and black. I knew he could not see the opening of the door. I continued to push the door, slowly, softly. I put in my head. I put in my hand with the covered light. Suddenly, the old man sat straight up in the bed and cried, "Who's there?" I stood quite still. For a whole hour I did not move, nor did I hear him again lie down in his bed. He just sat there, listening. Then I heard a sound, a low cry of fear, which escaped from the old man. Now I knew that he was sitting up in his bed, filled with fear. I knew that he knew that I was there. He did not see me there. He could not hear me there. He felt me there. Now he knew that death was standing there. Slowly, little by little, I lifted the cloth until a small, small light escaped from under it to fall upon that vulture eye. It was open, wide, wide open, and my anger increased as it looked straight at me. I could not see the old man's face, only that eye, that hard blue eye, and the blood in my body became like ice. Have I not told you that my hearing had become unusually strong? Now I could hear a quick, low, soft sound like the sound of a clock heard through a wall. It was the beating of the old man's heart. I tried to stand quietly, but the sound grew louder. The old man's fear must have been great indeed, and as the sound grew louder, my anger became greater and more painful. But it was more than anger. In the quiet night, in the dark silence of the bedroom, my anger became fear. For the heart was beating so loudly that I was sure someone must hear. The time had come. I rushed into the room crying, "Die, die." The old man gave a loud cry of fear as I fell upon him and held the bed covers tightly over his head. Still his heart was beating, but I smiled as I felt that success was neat, that success was near. For many minutes that heart continued to beat, but at last the beating stopped. The old man was dead. I took away the bed covers and held my ear over his heart. There was no sound. Yes, he was dead, dead as a stone. His eye would trouble me no more. So I am mad, you say. You should have seen how careful I was to put the body where no one can find it. First, I cut off the head, then the arms and the legs. I was careful not to let a single drop of blood fall on the floor. I pulled up 3 of the boards that formed the floor and put the pieces of the body there. Then I put the boards down again, carefully, so carefully that no human eye could see that they had been moved. As I finished this work, I heard that someone was at the door. It was now 4 o'clock in the morning, but still dark. I had no fear, however, as I went down to open the door. 3 men were at the door, 3 officers of the police. One of the neighbors had heard the old man's cry and had called the police. These 3 had come to ask questions and to search the house. I asked the policeman to come in. The cry, I said, was my own, in a dream. The old man, I said, was away. He had gone to visit a friend in the country. I took them through the whole house, telling them to search it all, to search well. I led them finally to the old man's bedroom. As if playing a game with them, I asked them to sit down and talk for a while. My easy, quiet manner made the policeman believe my story. So they sat, talking with me in a friendly way. But although I answered them in the same way, I soon wished that they would go. My head hurt and there was a strange sound in my ears. I talked more and faster. The sound became clearer, and still they sat and talked. Suddenly, I knew that the sound was not in my ears. It was not just inside my head. At that moment, I must have become quite white. I talked still faster and louder, and the sound too became louder. It was a quick, low, soft sound, like the sound of a clock heard through a wall, a sound I knew well. Louder it became, and louder. Why did the men not go? Louder, louder. I stood up and walked quickly around the room. I pushed my chair across the floor to make more noise, to cover that terrible sound. I talked even louder, and still the men sat and talked and smiled. Was it possible that they could not hear? No, they heard. I was certain of it. They knew. Now it was they who were playing a game with me. I was suffering more than I could bear from their smiles and from that sound. Louder, louder, louder. Suddenly, I could bear it no longer. I pointed at the boards and cried, "Yes, yes, I killed him. Pull up the boards and you shall see. I killed him. But why does his heart not stop beating? Why does it not stop?" How are you feeling now? I really enjoyed reading these two stories to you. Well, the poem and the short story. Let me know what you thought of them and if you knew them already from before. And maybe let me know if you enjoyed this video. I know it's not one of my usual things, but